Ron DeSantis, very popular on the right. Some polls, in fact, show that in the primary against Donald Trump, even though he's not a declared candidate, he's winning some of these polls. And so we cannot rule out the possibility that he could be their candidate, that he could end up being president. So it's important that we know ahead of time who he is and what he's doing. We've been doing a lot of critical coverage of Ron DeSantis for years now. Here is just a taste of the very recent effect that he's having on Florida, what he could bring to the entire country. Update on the story we've already talked about. The College Board is now actually going to be stripping down its AP curriculum for African American studies. After heavy criticism from Governor Ron DeSantis, just today, they announced an official curriculum for its new advanced placement course in African American studies, stripped of much of the subject matter that had angered the governor and other conservatives. So they have purged the name of many Black writers and scholars associated with critical race theory, the queer experience, and Black feminism, ushered out some politically fraught topics like Black Lives Matter, one of the biggest social movements in the history of our country. Can't learn about it. It also added something new. Black conservatism is now offered as an idea for a research project. Honestly, sure, yeah, that should be something that you should look into. I think it's actually pretty interesting, although perhaps not for all the reasons that the right would have you believe, but they're stripping all this out because it's inconvenient. He is a racist man running to be the avatar of modern conservative racism. That's what it is. That's why this is here. Some of the other changes, and we're gonna do a discussion of all of this. He's floating two proposals designed to produce more executions, okay? Again, there's not enough human sacrifice going on. He wants to increase it. So the first, Ron DeSantis suggested during an appearance in the Florida Sheriff's Association, was to allow juries to sentence someone to die even if the jury vote is not unanimous. Fine, have a supermajority, he says, adding that execution should be permitted if maybe 8 out of 10 or something of a jury's members vote for the death penalty. I love throwing or something into a proposal that will result in people dying. That's a fun approach to death. Current law right now requires unanimous juries for that, but that's just not enough. He wants more people to die. He knows the right wants more people to die. So you won't learn anything. If you end up in prison, you might well be killed. And we have more actually. But Jayar, what do you think about this?
Well, yeah, that's the whole idea. This is the stuff that he's gonna actually try and implement. So if anybody was gonna be smart about this potential primary between these two, he'd point those things out. But again, Ron DeSantis is a horrible human being, and he's gonna do whatever he can to gain more power. We saw it happen with Kevin McCarthy trying to get the speakership, Donald Trump trying to enrich himself the whole time he was in office. So yeah, he'll move for whichever way the hate moves. Who knows what he really believes, but he definitely believes in, hey, people's lives are expendable. I can say I'm tough on crime by killing more people by the state. That's really easy. I don't care about people's lives. I mean, pro-life. I mean, we have to actually look out for the family structure, but let's keep murdering people. It's fine. They can say this stuff and no one will stop and go, wait a second. You guys have a bit of a conflict of your morals that you have. It doesn't matter. They'll just say, hey, those libs hate you more. And they'll go to that aspect. It's gonna be all kinds of collisions like this. And folks who have to think about it and analyze it, like which I'm sure you're gonna be doing as we go into these primaries, your head is gonna be spinning because after you say all the truths and point out exactly what reality is, people still go, yeah, but he's gonna own the Dems. And that's all he knows they
exactly.
care about.
Yeah, they don't care. I mean, I have to imagine that he is gonna face so much pushback from Marjorie Greene, who's worried about the state of our prisons and how people don't have civil rights and civil liberties and all that. No, they don't care. These people aren't really people, just kill them. That's what he has to say. Also, by the way, he wants to expand the death penalty to incorporate pedophiles as well. They want pedophiles to be murdered by the state as well. And again, the small government that'll be murdering more people. By the way, I know if you support the death penalty, then you might think, well, that's perfectly reasonable. Whatever what they're doing is reprehensible. I don't support the death penalty for literally anything. I think it's needless. But there's also another argument, by the way, for why you wouldn't do this. Not coming from me, but from the Supreme Court. They rejected this expansion of the death penalty already back in Kennedy versus Louisiana. Kennedy warned that if sexual assault of a child carried the same penalty as a murder, that would endanger children because a state that punishes child rape by death may remove a strong incentive for the rapist not to kill the victim. I don't know how reasonable that is. I just know that I hate that this is the sort of stuff that we're gonna have to be constantly discussing. I'm gonna throw one other thing though there, because this is all big substantive constitutional changes, or I should say unconstitutional changes, because the Supreme Court has already ruled it out. He also, this is just before he went live, he announced that he is actually now, it was a rhetorical thing before, now he is adding permanent tax relief for gas stoves to his budget proposal. Democrats want your gas stove, and we're not gonna let that happen. Democrats don't want your gas stove. That was literally never a thing, and he knows that. Also, like less than 12% of stoves in Florida are gas. It's not a thing. It's not only not a real thing in the way that these culture war issues are never a real thing, it literally has nothing to do with Florida. But of course, he's going to do this. It's just to deliver for the base, the Florida base who doesn't have a gas stove.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.